YouTube, how the duck you doing? Duck Films here, and welcome back to the channel. And today I'm going to be sharing with you all of the information I've learned for putting over 100 hours in Marvel Rivals. So whether you're brand new to the game, or if you've even been playing for a while, stick around with me because there might be things you're not aware of yet. And as I am a YouTuber, I have to ask the question, if you're new here or find yourself coming back on the regular and you aren't already subscribed yet, why not? It's completely free and it greatly helps me out, as subscribing and liking the video is the best way to help out myself and my channel. If we could reach the goal of 10,000 subscribers, that would really be amazing. But regardless, I hope you sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Well, Marvel Rivals isn't just about smashing buttons. Well, okay, sometimes it is, but it also has a surprising amount of depth. One of the first things that I quickly realized is that timing and spacing are key. Knowing when to enter a fight or try to take advantage of space, or knowing when to fall back and not overextend with your team can really make a major difference. Now here's a pro tip. You don't want to spam your abilities, because trust me, I learned the hard way that conserving your abilities for the right moment can be game changing, especially when you're up against a counter heavy opponent. One example is your team comp is a heavy dive comp, and the enemies are aware of that, so they have a anti-dive comp. Trust me, if you used all of your escape and dive abilities to try to dive the enemy when they're at anti-dive comp, it's not gonna end too well for you. So it's always best to be aware of your resources before you fully commit into something. Now, another key aspect of the core mechanics is understanding the stamina bar. And what I mean by stamina bar is the cooldown time of your abilities. Overextending your attacks can leave you wide open to counter, so you always want to pay attention to your abilities to see how much time you have left and try to keep some abilities in reserve for defensive maneuvers. Whether that be saving one of Psylocke's dashes, saving the double jump on Hawkeye, or even saving one of Black Panther's dashes. Now, a bonus tip that I'll give you, I recommend hopping into the practice range and actually spending some time learning the cooldowns of each ability for the character that you want to play, so that you'll know subconsciously when your abilities are back. Although these mechanics, most of the time, you gain by playing more and more. Now, another major essential feature, specifically for Marvel Rivals because it is a hero shooter, is that character knowledge is power. Every character has unique abilities and weaknesses, and understanding them is crucial. And if you don't know all these characters' weaknesses, then I have the perfect video for you. Click top right because it's my complete guide on how to counter every single character in Marvel Rivals. See, I used to main Storm, thinking her ranged attacks would give me an edge, but once I ran into a player who knew how to close the distance fast, I knew that I needed to broaden my roster. So one of the tough lessons I learned was that you need to try out as many characters as you can. The more you understand their playstyle, the better you'll be at countering them. Now, another thing I noticed is how important it is to know which characters have fast recovery times versus those with longer cooldowns. Take, for example, a character like Black Panther, with quick and agile attacks that can punish you easily if you overcommit with a heavy attack. Now, I'll leave you with one advanced tip when it comes to character knowledge. You always want to keep a mental note of which characters have some type of ability to break armors or break shields, ones that will really damage you a lot. Having this knowledge can help you avoid getting caught off guard when using defensive-like abilities. Now, when it comes to playing Marvel Rivals, adapting your strategy is one major mechanic as well. Most of the time, no two matches are going to be the same, and sticking to one rigid playstyle won't get you very far. Now, some players have a rather aggressive playstyle right out of the gate, while others wait for you to make a mistake. So I find that adaptability is a huge part of winning matches. Now, here's a pro tip that I recommend you to have. You always want to watch your opponent's pattern. If you can find a pattern that they're attacking from the same angle, using certain attacks that put them in precarious spots, you can then use these patterns of knowledge to really exploit them. Because most of the time with games with patterns, specifically, team shooters or hero shooters, usually have gaps, and these gaps are a lot easier exploitable than you might think. On top of that, learning to mix up your approach can throw off even experienced players. If you're playing in a more defensive manner for most of the match, waiting for enemies to dive into you, trying to get a pick, and just playing on the more methodical, slower side, then suddenly switching to a more aggressive style can definitely catch them off guard. Although it's not a flawless strategy, I will say, however, a majority of the time this does work. Now, let me leave you with another strategy tip. Always keep an eye on your opponent's health. Also, try to know when certain cooldowns are used. If certain specific ultimates or abilities are used, then it might be a good time to pressure them with certain combos or just to go full dive. Combos are a huge part of Marvel Rivals, and learning a few reliable ones can really up your damage and output and keep your opponent on their toes. See, there's a lot of different combos in this game. There's team up combos where you team up with other heroes in the game, and those, comboed heroes will give you a special ability or some type of passive. For example, like Root Rocket Raccoon and Jeff the Land Shark. If you have Groot on your team, you could play either Jeff the Land Shark or Rocket Raccoon and sit on Groot's shoulder. This reduces the amount of damage they receive and can be sometimes helpful to your team if you feel like you're dying a lot. Now another thing is for combo-oriented characters such as Psylocke, Black Panther, Magic, and the list can go on and on. But a tip is to practice your combos in the training mode before you jump into a ranked match. Muscle memory will save you in those clutch moments. Now, another thing worth mentioning is combo variety. If you keep using the same combo repeatedly, opponents will catch on and start countering it. So occasionally you want to make sure you switch it up. Now this is true with some characters, a character like Psylocke maybe, but even if you don't switch up your combo, it's not the end of the world. And here's an extra tip, learn to reset your combos. Now what do I mean by resetting your combos? Well, if your opponent starts to block or get away or somehow escape your combo by some way, try to improvise, whether that be changing up your combo mid-attack or doing something like that. Again, this is true for a character like Psylocke. Say you go for a one-shot combo by landing your primary attack, followed up by your secondary attack, then dashing through the opponent. Say it doesn't one-shot that character. Well, then you kinda have to reset by adding in some extra flares to allow you to get the elimination. Now, I will say when it comes to Marvel Rivals, a big aspect of this game is aiming, and it's pretty self-explanatory as it is a third-person shooter. But that's not all there is, as this one surprised me. Marvel Rivals has a psychological element as well. Sometimes pretending to use your ultimate or pretending to make it seem like you're using certain abilities can bait out certain things for enemies that can often lead to huge opportunities. Now, here's a tip that I definitely recommend to you. If you notice your opponent panics under pressure, stay aggressive and force them into making mistakes. Sometimes, if you're playing a duelist character and you dive into the enemy's backline and you start heavily pressuring the enemy's supports or strategists, they can end up using their ultimate early to try to save themselves and try to give their team an advantage over yours. But as a duelist player, that's exactly what you wanted. Because you baited them out to use their ultimate early, you capitalize on this by using your own duelist ultimate. Of course, as you go into higher ranks, this isn't always going to happen, but most of the time this is usually the case. It kind of reminds me of my TF2 days as playing as a medic, and that's when you had Uber charge and you want to pop it, not drop it, because if you had 100% charge with your Uber and you died, you actually lost it and the timer would be 0. So in a way, it kind of reminds me of that. Now, I will say when it comes to Marvel Rivals, bluffing isn't always with attack cancels, nor is it pretending to dive the enemy backline but you don't actually, but I also started experimenting with feints, like moving towards an opponent aggressively, then backing off as they prepare to counter. Now, when you're actually messing around with mind games, I will say confidence is a major factor. Even when you're low on HP, staying calm and maintaining pressure can make your opponent second guess their decision. Now, something that I learned really early on was I was too eager to end matches quickly. But after getting punished repeatedly, I learned that patience can often turn a losing match around. Now, what I learned from this was don't rush, wait for openings and capitalize on your opponent's mistakes. I also found that patience extends to when you queue for matches. Now, sometimes taking a few minutes to review your last game or mentally prepare for the next one can help reset your mindset and improve your focus. Now, here's an extra takeaway. Stay calm even when things aren't going your way. Many matches can be turned around with one good play. Now, over 100 hours of Marvel Rivals gameplay, I also picked up some great advice from the community. One of the best tips I received was to always manage your cooldowns. If you're constantly out of your abilities, or if you never really have your ultimate, then you're going to be in trouble fast. So I appreciate everyone who has shared their tips and tricks. Now, another great tip I got was to record your matches or watch your replays. Watching replays can help you spot mistakes you didn't even realize you were making. So I started doing this and it made a huge difference in how I approach certain matchups. And Marvel Rivals has a very good replay system, but of course it's up to you whether you want to use this tool or not. Now, this section is probably one of the hardest to deal with, and that is managing tilt and staying positive. Let's be real, losing streaks happen. After a string of bad matches, it's easy to get frustrated and play worse. One thing that I learned is that managing tilt is just as important as mastering any character in the game. Now, if you start to feel frustrated, take a break. Even a short 5-minute breather can help you clear your mind. Although you might be thinking that this isn't helpful to you at all or doesn't really apply, trust me, it can actually help. I also find it helpful to set small achievable goals for each session. Now, instead of focusing purely on winning, I started aiming to improve specific aspects of my play, like improving my aim, improving combos, managing my ultimates better, and the list can go on and on. Now, something that I always recommend is celebrate the small wins. Even if you lose a match, acknowledging what you did well and build on it. Now, all of this might seem useless to some people, but even if it does seem useless, just give it a try. It might help you improve and overall just make you feel better. So there you have it, folks. That's what I've learned after playing more than 100 hours in Marvel Rivals. Now, this game has a ton of depth, and the more you play, the more you realize that. And there's always going to be something new to learn. And if you found this video helpful in any way, shape, or form, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button and hit that bell icon so you don't miss future content. And let me know in the comments down below, what's the most important thing you've learned while playing Marvel Rivals? I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.